Have you ever sat in a room full of people, family, children, even grandchildren, and still felt a strange emptiness inside? You smile, you nod, you listen to their stories, and yet something feels missing. It's not that you don't love them. You do deeply, but there's a quiet feeling that you can't quite explain. A feeling that maybe, just maybe, you don't fully belong in the world they live in anymore. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Many older adults, even those surrounded by family, often carry a sense of sadness they struggle to name. It's not dramatic, it's not loud. It's the kind of feeling that creeps in during quiet afternoons, lingers in family gatherings, or settles in your chest after everyone's gone home. And most of the time, you don't talk about it because how can you say it out loud? I feel lonely. When you're not technically alone, I feel invisible. When your family is right there, it can make you feel ungrateful, even when you're just being honest. But here's the truth. Feeling this way doesn't mean something's wrong with you, and it doesn't mean you don't appreciate your loved ones. It simply means there's a deeper story that deserves to be told. In this video, we're going to explore the shocking, yet very real reasons why so many seniors feel unhappy, even with family close by. And by the end, you might finally understand that what you've been feeling is more common, more human, and more valid than you ever thought. Getting older is often pictured as a peaceful stage of life surrounded by family, enjoying retirement, and finally having time to relax. And for some, that's true. But for many others, the story isn't so simple. You may have children who check in, grandkids who visit, a home that's never really empty, and yet, deep inside, something still feels off. Age, a sense of disconnection, a feeling that life is somehow moving past you, even while you're still here. What makes this feeling so confusing is that no one talks about it. Because from the outside, everything looks fine. You're lucky to have such a big family, they say, and you nod, smile, and agree because you are lucky. But luck doesn't erase emotion. Gratitude doesn't cancel out emptiness. And here's the difficult part. Most of the time, the people around you don't even notice. They assume you're okay. They think your needs are being met. They believe your heart is full simply because you're not alone. But emotional well-being goes far beyond physical presence. In this video, we're going to dive deeper into this hidden emotional truth, why so many seniors silently struggle with unhappiness, even when surrounded by family. We'll explore where this sadness really comes from, how it shows up, and what it might be trying to tell you, because naming a feeling is often the first step toward healing from the one who gave to the one who now receives. For most of your life, you were the one people leaned on. You made the meals, paid the bills, took care of sick kids. You were the one who remembered birthdays, planned holidays, picked up the pieces when life fell apart. Your hands were always busy folding clothes, stirring soup, holding someone else's world together. And even when it was hard, you kept going. That's just who you were: strong, reliable, necessary. But then, things changed. Slowly, almost without you noticing, the world shifted. One day, your children stopped needing your advice. Your grandchildren got taller than you. Someone else offered to cook dinner. A family member reminded you to take your medicine or said, "Let me handle that, Mom." And though it came from love, a quiet ache began to grow inside, because something had changed not just around you, but inside you. You were no longer the one people turned to. Now, they were turning toward you with concern, with instructions, with good intentions that still somehow made you feel small. At first, you told yourself, "It's okay, they care. I should feel lucky," and you are. But you're also grieving something. No one talks about the quiet loss of feeling needed. It's a shift that happens to so many older adults, from caregiver to care receiver, from leader to listener, from the one offering help to the one waiting for it. And it's not easy. No one prepares you for how strange it feels when your role changes. You might still be sharp, wise, and full of ideas, but people stop asking. You might still have energy and stories to tell, but they assume you're tired or not interested. You might want to help, but they say, you just rest. And suddenly, the world feels a little smaller. Some people describe this as becoming invisible. Others say it feels like retiring from life. Not just work. You still love your family deeply. You're proud of who they've become. But sometimes, and you wonder, do they still see me as the strong person I once was, or just someone they need to look after? This shift can bring up unexpected emotions, sadness, resentment, for guilt. You feel grateful, but also frustrated. You appreciate the help, but miss feeling useful. You want to feel loved, but also respected. It's not about being in control. It's about still feeling like you matter. Here's the truth. Just because you're receiving help now doesn't mean your value has disappeared. Your wisdom, presence, and experience still matter deeply, but it's okay to admit that this transition is emotional. It's okay to miss being needed. That doesn't make you selfish, it makes you human. So if you've been feeling that quiet sadness lately, know this. You're not alone. You're not forgotten. You are still essential even if your role has changed. And maybe, just maybe, it's time to rediscover new ways to give, not through chores or caretaking, but through stories, listening, presence, perspective. Because what you offer now is no less powerful, it's just different. And that difference deserves to be honored. There's something deeply powerful about feeling useful. It's more than just keeping yourself busy. It's about the quiet pride of knowing that your presence matters, that someone needs you, that your words, your hands, your energy are making a difference in someone else's life. For most of your life, that feeling likely came naturally. You were constantly doing things for others. You were needed. But over time, that started to change. Sometimes gradually, like a tide pulling away. Other times suddenly after retirement, illness, moving to a new place, or losing someone close. One day, you wake up and realize there's not much that requires your attention anymore. The phone rings less. No one asks for your help. Meals are simpler, and the house feels quieter. That's when the thought hits, I don't feel useful anymore. And that feeling is heavier than people realize, because being useful isn't just about having tasks, it's about purpose. It's about waking up in the morning and knowing someone needs me today. When that feeling disappears, it doesn't always show up as sadness right away. Sometimes it feels like restlessness, like floating through the day. You might read a book, do some chores, take a walk, but something still feels incomplete. It's like a part of you is waiting to be called upon again. Take Martha, for example. She's 79, a retired nurse, and used to managing a busy household. Her life was once full of caregiving, responsibility, and love. But now her children are grown, and her husband passed away 5 years ago. Although her family checks in often, they rarely ask her for anything. They say, "You've done enough. Mom, just rest," she explains. But resting makes me feel like I've disappeared. Maybe you feel the same way. Not because you want to go back in time, but because part of you still wants to contribute, still wants to share, still wants to feel needed. You can love your family and still feel like you don't have a role anymore. You can feel grateful and still feel invisible. That contrast is difficult to carry because people think being cared for is enough. But what we really want, especially as we age, is to know we still matter, that we're not just loved, we're still a meaningful part of someone's life. So what do you do with that feeling? Start small. Look for ways to share again, not because you have to, but because you want to. Maybe it's writing down a favorite memory to pass on. Maybe it's baking something for a neighbor. Maybe it's simply saying, "If you ever need help, I'm here." Being useful doesn't always mean doing a task. Sometimes it just means being present, listening to someone, offering encouragement, sharing a little bit of wisdom that no one else can offer. You don't need a full schedule to feel purposeful. You just need connection. Because usefulness is not really about being busy, it's about feeling meaningful. So if you've been feeling like a tool left on the shelf for too long, not broken, just unused, please know you are still needed. The way you contribute may look different now, but that doesn't make it any less valuable. In fact, it may be more valuable than ever, because what you offer now comes not just from effort, but from experience. It starts with small things. Your son reminds you to drink more water. Your daughter insists on driving you to the doctor. Your granddaughter sets up your phone so you don't accidentally delete anything. And slowly, the offers to help become routines that are no longer optional. At first, you smile and accept. You understand they care. You tell yourself it's just part of getting older, letting the younger ones lend a hand. But somewhere along the way, something shifts. The help no longer feels helpful. It starts to feel like control. You find yourself being told what to do, when to eat, how to dress, what not to say. You hear phrases like, "Let me do it," "It's faster," or "Don't worry about that," or "You shouldn't be climbing stairs anymore." None of it is cruel. In fact, it often comes wrapped in love. But that's what makes it harder to talk about. Because how do you say, "I feel like I'm losing my independence," without sounding ungrateful? This is a reality many older adults silently face. The moment when well-meaning support crosses a quiet line, you still want to make your own choices. You still want to be trusted with your own routines. You still want a voice in your daily life. But more and more, it feels like decisions are made for you, not with you. It's the look your family gives when you reach for the salt, the awkward pause when you suggest an outing, the fact that your schedule now depends on someone else's availability, and yet, you don't say much. You tell yourself it's for the best. They're just trying to help. But inside, there's a growing discomfort, not because you don't want help, but because you want help with dignity. Being supported shouldn't mean being managed. But modern family life often blurs that line. Adult children, juggling their own stress, may not realize when they slip into control mode, they want to protect you from injury, from exhaustion, from making mistakes. What they don't always see is that in trying to protect your body, they might be shrinking your spirit. Let's be clear, aging doesn't mean you lose your voice. It doesn't mean you stop making decisions. And it certainly doesn't mean others get to speak for you, especially in areas where you are still fully capable. The truth is, independence isn't about doing everything alone. It's about having the right to choose, to say yes or no, to participate in your life with agency and respect. When that is slowly taken away, even with good intentions, it can lead to sadness, frustration, and a deep sense of invisibility. If you've been feeling that way, know this: you are not overreacting. You are not being stubborn. You are simply asking to be treated like a full person, not just someone who needs to be protected. So, how do we move forward? Start with honest conversations. Talk with your loved ones about how certain things make you feel. Explain that, while you appreciate the support, you still want to feel involved and respected. Offer specific examples and ask for their understanding, not their permission. And if you're someone who's supporting an aging parent or grandparent, pause and reflect. Ask yourself, am I helping or am I taking over? Am I listening or just deciding? Am I offering support or silently replacing their voice with mine? Because real care means more than just keeping someone safe. It means keeping them seen, heard, included. As we grow older, something shifts quietly inside us. We begin to hold back, not because we have nothing to say, but because we worry we might become a burden. You might stop asking for help, even when you really need it. You downplay your discomfort, hide your loneliness, smile through the pain, not because you're stronger than others, but because you've spent a lifetime being the one who gives, not the one who needs. And now, with roles reversed, the adjustment feels unfamiliar, even uncomfortable. You hesitate before calling your children. You say, "I'm fine." Even when you're not, you think, "They're busy. I don't want to bother them." And slowly, without realizing it, you begin to shrink your emotional world, not physically, but inwardly. You keep your thoughts to yourself, hold back your stories, filter your words, not out of pride, but out of fear that your presence might become too much. The word burden is heavy, but it lingers in the back of many seniors' minds. You see your children juggling their careers, parenting, finances. You hear the stress in their voices. You notice how quickly they come and go. And you convince yourself, don't add to their load. Be grateful, be quiet. But gratitude should never require silence. You're not asking for anything extravagant. You don't want to be treated like a child. What you long for is connection, to be able to speak without guilt, to feel seen without shame, to be present without questioning your place. Take Frank, for example. He's 82, and his daughter calls every Sunday. He appreciates it, truly, but the calls are brief, rushed. He never brings up the tough week he had or how lonely the days feel. She's got a life, a job, kids, responsibilities. He says, she doesn't need to hear about my aches and pains. And yet, when the call ends, it's not just the line that goes silent. It's something deeper, something inside his chest. That silence builds over time. It turns into distance, and that distance begins to feel like loneliness, not because nobody cares, but because you've convinced yourself that needing care is a burden. Here's something you may not hear enough. You are not a burden. Needing help doesn't mean you're weak. Wanting company doesn't mean you're needy. Hoping for more connection doesn't make you selfish. It simply means you're human and still full of life, emotions, and the deep need to be close to the people you love. The truth is, your loved ones might have no idea you've been holding back. They may see your silence as peace, not realizing it's protection, your way of keeping things light for their sake. They won't know unless you tell them. So where do you begin? Start with giving yourself permission. Permission to speak, to ask, to share. You don't have to unload everything at once, but maybe next time someone says, "How are you?" you can be a little more honest. Just a sentence or two, not to complain, but to connect. You might be surprised at how ready your loved ones are to listen. Once they know you want to be heard, being part of a family means being part of each other's lives, not just in moments of joy, but in the quiet, everyday spaces where connection matters most. Your thoughts, your stories, your presence. These are not interruptions. They are invitations. You've spent your whole life being there for others. Now, allow them to be there for you, not out of duty, but out of love. And above all, believe this truth with your whole heart. You are not a burden. You are a gift, a living reminder of love, strength, and the quiet power of simply being present. Many people believe that loneliness simply means being physically alone, that if you live with family, have neighbors nearby, or reside in a senior community, then you shouldn't feel lonely. But the truth is, loneliness isn't just about being around others. It's about feeling emotionally connected to them. You can be surrounded by people and still feel completely invisible. You might hear voices, laughter, footsteps, and yet feel like no one truly sees or hears you. This kind of emotional loneliness is especially difficult because it hides behind the appearance of a full life. To others, everything seems fine, but inside, something feels missing. As we age, this experience becomes more common, not because people don't care, but because the ways we used to connect at work, with friends, through regular social routines begin to fade. Retirement removes the everyday interactions we once took for granted. Friends may move away or pass on. Family still loves us. But their days are often packed and moving fast. And somehow, life begins to happen around us, instead of with us. You may notice conversations growing shorter, fewer invitations, less eye contact, people come and go. But the depth of interaction becomes shallow, and that's when loneliness begins to settle in, not from being physically alone, but from feeling emotionally disconnected. Take Helen Cishaba, who lives with her son's family. The house is always full of movement, grandkids laughing, TV in the background, someone always coming or going. But Helen quietly says, "I feel like I'm a background character in their life. I'm here, but not really part of it." It's a feeling many older adults share. Even in homes filled with people, this sense of disconnection doesn't come with drama. It rarely looks like sadness on the outside. Instead, it shows up in the little things. Shorter answers, fewer stories told, less desire to start conversations. It's a slow, quiet fading of one's voice from the room. Often, this happens not because others don't care, but because we begin to hold ourselves back. We think, they're too busy. I don't want to interrupt. They have their own problems. So we say less. We wait to be asked. We learn to shrink gently from the center of attention. And the more we do that, the easier it is for others to assume we're fine. But we're not always fine. What we long for isn't noise or activity. It's meaning, it's connection, it's someone sitting down, looking us in the eye, and saying, "Tell me how you really are." It's a chance to speak from the heart without feeling like we're taking up too much space. And here's the thing: you deserve that. You deserve to be heard, to share your thoughts, your worries, your stories, not because you're old, but because you're still a full person with a full life behind you and a heart that still wants to connect. So if you're feeling lonely, start by being honest. Say it out loud. Mention it to a loved one. Invite someone in for coffee or a walk. Ask deeper questions. Give deeper answers. Connection doesn't come from waiting quietly. It comes from small, brave steps toward others. Because loneliness doesn't disappear just by being near people. It begins to fade when you feel truly seen. And no matter how much life has changed, you are still here. Still you. Still worthy of being noticed, included, and loved, not just in presence, but in spirit. If any part of this feels familiar to you, the silence, the hesitation, the quiet ache that lingers, please know this: you are not alone. So many older adults feel the same way, but rarely say it out loud. Maybe because we were raised to be strong, to not complain, to stay grateful even when our hearts feel heavy. But carrying these feelings alone doesn't make them any lighter. It only makes us feel more isolated. The truth is, your feelings are valid. Wanting deeper connection, missing real conversation, or simply needing to be seen, these are not signs of weakness. They're signs that your heart is still alive, still reaching out, still hoping. And that's something to be proud of. You've lived through so many changes, said goodbye to people you loved, adapted again and again, and still, you care. You want closeness. You want meaning. That makes you strong, not needy. You are not invisible. Even if some days make you feel that way, you are not forgotten. Even if the phone doesn't ring as often as you'd like, you are still you, still important, still worthy of connection. conversation, and love. So today, let this be a gentle reminder. There is nothing wrong with you. There is nothing broken inside you. You don't need to hide your heart to protect others, because the people who truly love you want to see you, hear you, and know the real you, not just the quiet version who smiles and says, "I'm fine." If there's one thing we hope you remember from this conversation, it's this: your emotional needs do not expire with age. Just because you're older doesn't mean you stop needing connection, care, or to be truly seen and heard. These needs aren't signs of weakness, they're signs of life. They remind us that we're still here, still human, still capable of love and longing. Growing older changes many things: our routines, our roles, even the energy we once had, but it doesn't change your worth. It doesn't erase your identity, and it certainly doesn't take away your right to feel, to speak, or to be loved deeply. Yes, the world moves fast, and yes, sometimes it forgets to slow down for those who once carried so much on their shoulders. But you are not forgotten. The depth of your experiences, your kindness, your presence, these things still matter more than you know. So as you move through your days, carry this truth with you. You don't need to stay quiet to be respected. You don't have to disappear to be appreciated. You don't have to be fine all the time to be loved. Let people in gently, honestly, and remind yourself, often you are still needed, you are still loved, you are still you. If today's message touched your heart even just a little, we're truly grateful that you stayed with us until the end. The feelings you may be carrying, even if they're hard to describe, are real and important. Your story matters, and you are not alone. Somewhere out there, someone else is feeling exactly the same way, quietly wondering, is it just me? The answer is no. Many people are quietly holding the same thoughts and questions. So, if you feel comfortable, we'd love to hear from you in the comments. You don't have to write a lot, even just one sentence is enough. What part of today's message spoke to you? If you could say something to someone else who might be feeling the same way, what would it be? You might be surprised how healing it is just to hear someone say, "I feel that way too." If this video reminded you of someone, a parent, an old friend, a neighbor, consider sharing it with them. You never know. A short message like this could open the door to a conversation they've been needing for a long time. And if you'd like to keep hearing more soft reflections, gentle truths, and meaningful conversations about aging and life, you're welcome to subscribe, but only if it feels right for you. Because here, there is always space for you. You are always welcome. And above all, you are deeply valued, just as you are. Thank you for spending this time with us. Take good care of your heart. And please remember, you still matter more than you know.